sciences. All right. All right, welcome. I believe I'm in the right place. My name is Jose Anunciato. And I believe we're all here for CS5610, right? CS5610. And there's two sections. There's two graduate sections. One meets Tuesdays and Fridays, and there's another one that meets on Wednesday nights. The one on Tuesdays and Fridays meets for about an hour and a half, and the one on Wednesday meets for 3 hours. Listening to me for 3 hours talk. It's at that time everybody wants to go to sleep. Anyway, there's another undergrad section also that is joining us, CS4550, I believe, which is right after this, and on Thursdays. We're all going to be sharing the same material, right? Although the graduate version of this is going to be much more rigorous. It's going to be a lot more work. It's going to be a lot more expected of you, but it is going to be the same material, the same website. So oftentimes, I will have to say certain things that are specific to a particular section, or but most of our correspondence through Piazza, through forums, through emails, will be for all the sections. All right. This is the website that was developed for this particular course. Again, it says CS5610, but CS4550 is also going to be sharing the same material, even though the branding everywhere says CS5610. Yeah, this is me, instructor Jose Anunciato. I've been working for. I should update that. So it's about 17 years almost already. That I've been working on web development in general in the industry, and I've also been teaching. I've only been teaching web development for the last 5 years, but I've been working on it, for almost 17 years. I try to do both things, and I try to bring a lot of the anecdotes from the front lines of industry development. I'd like to share with you. Most of everything we're going to be talking about is things that represent how you would do things in industry, right? My hope is that when you go out for interviews, or you find yourself working in an actual team, that you understand the jargons, you understand why certain things are being worked out a certain way. The architectures, why are you organize certain files in a particular way, why you add certain things that might be an overhead or might not be as efficient, but are things that are meant to work well in a larger team, right? In a larger project, things that are meant to be understood by people that will come after you, right? That will look at this and try to figure out why did they do that? To make it easy to read, right? Easy to maintain. So anyway, yes, a lot of industry driven aspects of development we're going to be covering in this course. As I said, we're going to be using Piazza for communicating. So if you have a question about the course, right? Something that you didn't understand in an assignment, or something that you understand, something I explained in class, or most often it'll be the case that many other students will have the same question. So please share your questions on Piazza, right? And so that we can answer the same questions for everybody. We can all benefit from asking and answering in one place. If you do have something more personal, then please email me directly or call me. I'm trying to make myself as available as possible. My phone number this is my personal cell phone. so don't give it out, right? So, but feel free to call me. I usually, you can call me anytime, but especially between 5 and 6 p.m., that's a perfect time to call me because I'm commuting back home, and after a long day, I'm feeling drowsy, I'm falling asleep. If you call me, you keep, we can have a conversation, you keep me awake, right? You can, it's a real big benefit for me. If I don't answer you right away, either I'm with another student on the line, I'll make every effort to call you right back. Right, so just leave a short message. I'll call you as soon as I can. But nonetheless, feel free to call me if you have a doubt. Text me, right, or WhatsApp me, or you can also Skype me. It's just Jose.Anunciado. Okay, Skype if you prefer Skype. I tend to use a lot of Google Hangout. Right, which is just, you can just use my Gmail email to contact me on Google Hangout. This is the email I read the most, but if you email my other account, my NEU account or the CS account, they all go here. Right, well, I think I've routed everything here. So everything should go here, okay? Again, Google Hangout. I'm always connected on Skype. I'm always connected on Google Hangout or WhatsApp, or just text, or just call me, right? Hopefully, we should be able to answer, I would say, 90% of your doubts on Piazza, right? But if you have something more specific, please, just contact me. I will have office hours almost every day. So it'll be, I posted my office hours, I believe. You go to resources on Piazza. I've sent an invitation to everybody. Has everybody received an invitation? Right. Okay. If you haven't, please see me right after this, and I'll add you. Staff. So this is me. I'm gonna have office hours every day except Mondays. I'm not in school on Mondays. So Tuesdays 1:30 to 3, Wednesdays 5 to 5:45, Thursdays 4:30 to 6, and Fridays 11:30 to 1. And I'm at 460A West Village H. Okay. What else? All right. So that's Piazza. Everybody familiar with Piazza? Many other courses use Piazza. So, also notice that I started a Google Hangout, and I'm recording this lecture. I'll be recording all lectures, and they'll be immediately available right after the end of the lecture. If you go back to the website, the portal, and let me go in. Notice at the left-hand side we have course videos. If you click on course videos, you'll see that there are 3 columns here for 2016, for spring 2016. One is for the undergrad, and 2 for the graduate version, section 1 and section 2. So for this one, for this particular section, it will appear right here. Okay. I've made a playlist, so the latest video just gets added automatically to the playlist, so it should be there after I stop the recording. If you want to take a look at past videos, you can take a look at the fall 2015 from last semester, just to get an idea on how we cover the material. Agenda, as you might have heard, the material that we're going to be covering here is web development, but it's web development means a lot of things. It's exploded. It's exponentially exploding and evolving as we speak, right? Although I suggest a book, anything that is printed is already obsolete, right? So it's just moving so fast. So anyway, an earlier version of this course used to use C#. I've been transitioning to things that we've found more that are become much more popular and much more used and much more demand today in industry. And we settled on the mean stack. We kept getting a lot of requests from students that they wanted to look at NoSQL databases. They wanted to do lightweight servers and some of the more popular JavaScript libraries. So we settled on this particular stack. There are many other competing stacks, right? A lot of the concepts we're going to be looking in this course are equally applicable to many other stacks, right? Although this one in particular, we're going to see that it takes advantage of a brand new philosophy of doing a lot of the work on the client side, right? Kind of like rehashing a lot of the design patterns that have been used in server-side development, reapplying those, rediscovering those same design patterns and applying them on the client side, right? So we'll see a little bit about the evolution of where we've been, right, where we are, where we might go, right, and we'll see how. So a lot of the same ideas are just part of a long evolution of how the web technologies have evolved and how they have been used throughout the last couple of decades. But yeah, so the mean stack, that's an acronym, mean, MEAN, and it stands for the four main technologies that are used in this particular technology stack. So M stands for Mongo, as you might have heard, MongoDB, which is the NoSQL database solution. Right? The E stands for Express, which is actually part of Node. It's a Node library that simplifies the creation of web services. Right? Hey, I have this executable here. I have this code that I want to be able to map to a URL. I want to be able to execute it, right, when I hit a particular URL. Right? And Express makes it trivial to do something like that. Right? So I have this little JavaScript code running on the server. I want to make it run, and I want to map it to a URL. So Express makes it very easy to do that. N, continuing on that streak, so N is for Node or Node.js, Node.js, which is a very Node.js is just basically JavaScript on the server, right? Most people, when you say JavaScript, everybody says, "Oh, well, it's the programming language of the web, right? It's the programming language on the client and the browser, right?" Most people, that's where they first meet JavaScript, right? Trying to make websites dynamic, right? Event handlers on the clients, right? And you have all these, inside of a script tag, or maybe you've used a JavaScript library, right? Which you source and you download it and you use it inside of your web pages. That's the main use of which everybody's mostly familiar with, right? Node.js is just being able to do this, run JavaScript, right? JavaScript programs, but on a desktop. That's all it is, right? And being on a desktop, you have some limitations, and you have some you gain some you gain some limitations, and you lose some limitations, right? So some of the limitations on the client is that, well, you're running on a client, or you're running on your code is running on somebody else's machine, right? You write the code and somebody downloads it on their browser, and they're running on that browser, right? And so there's a lot of security issues about that, right? We can't access the file system. We can't do network connect. Well, we can do some limited network connections, right? We don't have a database. We don't have, where do we get the data, right? So there's some limitations there. But you're very close to the user, right? You can pop up windows. You can manipulate the browser. You can resize it. You can do animation. You can do all sorts of things. On the server is somewhat the opposite. You don't have a UI. There is no UI, right? So there are no windows. There are no dialogues. There are no buttons or anything, no forms. So you're not interacting with the user that way anyway. You're not interacting that way. You're interacting another way. But now that you're running on the desktop, right, a lot of the limitations that you had in the client are gone, right? You have access to the server. You have access to the file system. You can do all sorts of network connections. You can connect to the database, all sorts of things, right? And together, right, when you marry these two technologies, what other technology? Angular. Angular is the other side of the coin. Angular is the JavaScript side, right? The library that we're going to be using on the client side, right? And these two things together, this very powerful JavaScript library running on the browser, and this very powerful JavaScript code that we can run on the server together, right? They make a very powerful combination, right? And also, it simplifies the implementation of web development, right? Before, well, even today, you have to learn lots of languages, right? On the if you're using Java or C#, or typically you have to learn one language for the client, JavaScript, right? And then on the server you have to create Java classes and whatnot, right? And all that goes with packages and jar files and war files and deploying on servers and whatnot, right? And then another one, right, on the database, right? SQL, and you have to how to do updates and queries and whatnot. Well, now with the mean stack and many other stacks are going this way, you have JavaScript all the way through. You have JavaScript on the client, right, running on the client, on the browser. You have JavaScript running on your server, right? And your data is also being stored in JavaScript-friendly format, JSON. Okay? So just one language to rule the whole stack. Okay? It simplifies it. In other frameworks such as J2EE or .NET, all between these various worlds, right? The browser world and the server world and the database world, you have a lot of barriers in between them that you have to. There's a hurdle that you have to go between. How do you represent your data on the client? How you represent data again on the server? How you represent that data on the database, right? And you have to have a lot of conversion between all these worlds, right? Yes, JavaScript is fairly object-oriented, right? But certainly Java is much more object-oriented, right? You have inheritance, you have all these things you don't have in JavaScript, right? And so you have to do the conversion between these two worlds, right? So that's the first one. You have to do the conversion between pseudo-object worlds, right? And then again, you have to do the conversion between the Java data model to a which is a very hierarchical data model, right? You have inheritance, you have all sorts of very powerful object-oriented things, but it's a transient, right? It's a transient world, it's transient instances of objects, right? Whereas you have to do a conversion between a permanent, right, or a long-term data storage that represents its data flat, right? And just in these tables, right, that refer to each other, that don't really implement inheritance, they don't implement this hierarchy that you have in your object model. So you have this conversion again, right? Well, with introducing the mean stack, where you have the same data representation, or actually, you can have the same data representation. There's still some massaging between these three worlds, but you have much less. The impedance between the worlds is much less. Right, the conversion between these worlds is much simpler. Okay. So yeah, so the mean stack. We're going to be focusing on the mean stack. So yeah, here's me. About the instructor. This Mondays. You can call me. Certainly, you can call me Monday, Tuesdays, and Fridays, not Wednesdays, because I teach at night, and I have office hours during the day, and so really Wednesday's not a good time to give me a call. But certainly Skype or Google Hangout. Ideally, again, you would focus mostly on posting your questions on Piazza, right? And the TAs and myself will make every effort to answer that right away on Piazza, but please be patient, right? We have give us at least a couple hours to answer you, and then there's this kind of like an escalation. If you're not answered in the first tier, then certainly an email, certainly Google Hangout, certainly give me a call, and finally, right, if you really have to, we can meet face to face, right? But try to get your I mean, there's 150 students, right, and there's only a few of us, so try to get your doubts answered this way. But certainly, I'm available on office hours, right? But I want to make myself I don't want you to wait too much on my office hours. There's going to be 6 assignments, right, and a project, right, and they're equally valued, right? So the six assignments are worth half your grade, and the project is worth the other half of the grade. Okay. The 6 assignments are all related to each other. Okay. In the 6 assignments, just like you're going to be working on a project on your own, right? In the project, you can choose whatever topic you want, or I can offer you a topic as well. I have a couple of topics I'm going to go over. So what we want to be able to do is mimic the process of implementing a web application, right? In the project, you're going to choose what that application will be, right? But we want to mimic that, but the project will be a little bit open-ended, right? It's you thinking, you deciding, you making a lot of choices. So we're going to mimic that, but replicate that process, but choosing a particular problem, right? That's what the assignments are going to do. The assignments are going to choose a particular web application. We're going to build it together, right? And what we learn, how to do it together on that application, hopefully you'll be able to transfer that knowledge and build your own project. Okay? We'll have a very top-down implementation. We'll start with the user, right? We'll work our way towards the back end, right? So we'll work very user-centric. What is it that the user would see? What are the things that the user will want to do, right? We'll analyze use cases, right? We'll list requirements, use cases, and say, well, how do we implement something that solves these use cases, right? What are the user interfaces that would meet the goals of the user, right? We'll work towards the data model and says, okay, what are the data models that would support these, right? What are the web services that would support this, right? And towards going further and further closer to the back end and the database, right? So yeah, so the assignments and the project hopefully will go hand in hand, and the assignments, whatever you learn in the assignments, will help you then tackle your own project. Excuse me. No exams or quizzes. Agenda. All right, so I try to make this agenda work for all three sections. The good thing is that all our holidays that fall on Mondays don't affect us because nobody meets on Monday. That's perfect. So hopefully we'll be able to have all 3 sections moving at the same speed, at the same. Nobody's going to be left behind. So here we have each day. And again, these are for the various sections as well. These are the topics for this particular week. Week 1, we introduce the course, what the schedule is going to be, what the assignments and the projects, and the goal for this week is to get you going with a development environment, right? So that you can start developing as soon as possible. You can start working on your assignments, your projects, right? And there's going to be 4 main tools that we're going to be using, right? One is Git, right? Git is a source control. Right? Anybody use Git before? Awesome. So if you already have a Git account, I would just ask you that you create a repository specific for this course. Okay. If not, then create a new Git account, right? And then create a repository. And I believe I asked you to call it, web development. I'm not asking you to call it CS5610 or whatever, because again, we have several sections. So yeah, so create a repo called web development. The other tool that we're going to be using is WebStorm, right? That's going to be the IDE, right? The integrated development environment that we're going to be using, please use WebStorm. I know that you might be familiar with others, Wrangler or whatever. If you're on Mac, right, or on Windows, maybe be using Visual Studio or something. Please, let's all settle on the same development environment. Right? Make it easier on me to be able to support you. I have a lot of instructions on how things should work. Right? That if you're using some other IDE, I'm not going to be able to support you as well. Yes.
Who use of them?
I would rather you stick to WebStorm. Right? You're going to see WebStorm used a lot out there in the industry. So one more IDE is a good thing. It's used heavily out there, so you should become familiar at least with it. Okay, and what better time than when you're in a nice supportive environment, very forgiving environment, and you're out there in the industry. It says, "What? You don't know WebStorm?" And then you have to do a crash course on WebStorm, right? The other two are frameworks that we're going to be using. Node.js, we're going to have to install Node.js. Again, Node.js is just an interpreter, a JavaScript interpreter for the desktop. That's all it is. Okay, and like any other framework, it's a boring framework unless it has a lot of support from the community, unless it has a lot of libraries, very interesting libraries. Right? Java on its own or C# on its own is not much, right? What really makes those frameworks worthwhile are all the libraries that go along with it, right? And Node.js is the same thing. It has tons and tons of community-supported libraries that make the interpreter worthwhile, right? Of which the most Express is by far the most popular Node.js module or library. Okay? So one of the things that we're going to do first is download Node.js, and one of the first things that we're going to do is install this particular package, right? The Express package. Right? Node.js doesn't need Express, right? But to create the same functionality, it would be just so much more complicated, right? And Express just allows you to just one single line allows you to create a web server. Yes.
Can we install the latest version?
Yeah, the latest version will be fine. Yep. Yes. And the other thing that we're going to be installing is the MongoDB database. Right? Even though we're not going to be using it for a while, we're not going to be using it for a couple of weeks. Nevertheless, I would ask you to please install it and configure it. Also because, just one more thing that we need to install, the OpenShift. We're going to be, all your assignments, right, your projects, everything is going to be hosted on a real server, right, of which you're going to be opening an account, right, in a, which is a free, OpenShift is a free hosting service, right? Well, if you keep it within a reasonable size, right, it's free, it allows you to host web server, which is going to be Node.js. It allows you to host a database, right, which is going to be MongoDB, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to replicate the same hosting environment. We're going to replicate it on our local machines, right? We're going to do all our development locally, and once we've debugged it and we come to a stable version of our web application, we're going to push our code to OpenShift's Git repository. Right? Node.js applications. You just follow the instructions. I want to create a Node.js application. It creates a very standard, very simple Node.js, hello world Node.js application. Okay, and what you're going to do is that once it's running on OpenShift, right, you're going to